All right, this is to document third-party group stalker Kim Fletcher, going by Kimberly Fletcher. She is a manager with third-party speaker companies, and I want to document something specifically. This is an entity that is not only a demon-possessed one, but this is an entity. The public entity is monitoring what I'm doing in the in my office. Obviously, this is the exact same pattern of conduct is occurring in the workplace. So while the entity is repeatedly sounding helicopter, so this is while I'm in the workplace, the entity is, and Kimberly Fletcher represents the entity. So as I am literally writing down the fact that Kumli, Carla Lopez, which is also speaker companies, Tiffany Sherez, are engaging in that which is grounds of federal prison. That's group stalking with the corrupt law enforcement agency, who was captured on video this morning, flying in circles and increasing that ongoing threat to my life and safety while I proceed to document them, them being the people of the state, on video. And I'm also referencing specifically the third party, Todd Speaker, whose property and business is the criminal means of facilitation by the state that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring as the people of the state in concert with the state that's stalking in helicopter. That's the state of California. And I'm writing literally all the federal charges as I am writing down workplace terrorism, harassment, sexual violence by entity. Kimberly Fletcher, which is again the entity engaging in what is audible activity creation. They use the phone as a means to create audible activity with simultaneity to what I'm doing, by the way. These are demons that engage in that, and you don't have to be physically in relevant position. Understand it's an entity, so you can have audible activity created. This is what the demons of LAPD are doing. You'll have a demon that opens the office door, Carlo Lopez, while they are amplifying helicopter activity. That's the combination of audible activity and criminal presence in the engineered light. So the entity is using what is the sound of the phone, as Kimberly Fletcher is calling, with simultaneity to my literally documenting the ways that not only Carla Lopez, but Todd Speaker and speaker companies is going to be prosecuted for engaging in which is documented on video, and it's going to be used in the direct evidence against the people and the state of California, and juxtaposed with the presence of the light source that remains over the Fontana Lewis Library, just like my evidence that I'm going to remind you about shows today. And as you're going to remember yesterday, as it remains over the Upland Public Library, speaking to what is a specific environment and a malicious criminal system that I'm subject to in the workplace. And as I write that down, you have this demon that is engaging in audible activity creation, and it is also harassment while she's calling. I want to be clear, there is nothing that you're getting past the surface level of what is audible activity. So while someone wants to say, "Oh, good morning, you look so pretty today," versus someone coming in and stating, "You're doing a horrible job and I can't wait to get rid of you," I want to be clear, while one is overtly and clearly hostile, the other is just as threatening. It's audible activity in the specific environment that's serving to threaten your life. It's audible activity, it's monitoring by a group stalker, which the state is using vicariously to monitor me. That's not any less of a threat. You are also analyzing also the substance of the speech. And I want to be clear, this is a workplace terrorism, harassment, and sexual violence by an entity, which the people of the state are vicariously engaged in on behalf of the state of California. And so it is legally significant as Kimberly Fletcher uses the telephone ring as a means of audible activity. And my conversation with her is the creation of audible activity while the entity is surrounding me with not only the light source, but engineered light. And the demon possessed are right now swarming all around the office where I'm at, including LAPD in a helicopter. This is grounds of federal prison, and it is also illustrating what is impunity, as Kimberly Fletcher has on more than one occasion. That is, when you document the demons, they know that they're being documented, and as they continue to document, that's relevant to how long they sit in federal prison. Okay, that's capturing what is, again, malice and impunity. Federal policy and that federal prosecution is mindful of that at every step of the way, and the federal judge that is handing down sentences of federal prison is going to remember those details, and that's why I point them out in the documentation, and that's what's going to be relevant when they're prosecuted. Not just the fact that you engaged in the P.O.C, but you're another type of threat. You live at the crime scene. Oh, you work at the crime scene. Oh, you don't even live there. You come every day to engage in the pattern of crime. These are the details that are legally relevant, the ways in which the entity is repeating that pattern of conduct. So I want to be, which is an ongoing repeat to the threat, repeating that threat to the life of the targeted individual, which the government doesn't have the right to do directly or vicariously. And in the same way that the government doesn't have a right to do that, All right, as egregious as that is, that's how forceful that prosecution is going to be. It's going to be commensurate, if not greater than, with regard to the level of punishment. And so you saw demons pacing all around me in the parking lot, and I'm documenting them. And you have Kimberly Fletcher, who's engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. The entity is sounding helicopter activity while she is calling again, making a correction that is unwarranted. So I am repeating to her. And then let me be clear. The demon possessed, these third parties are not ignorant about what they said. And as I have to remind them, no, that's not what you said. It's all audible activity. Under any circumstances, she can call and say, hey, Erica, how's your morning doing? I hope you have a wonderful, splendid day. It is audible activity while the demons that are the LAPD are group stalking in helicopter and the light source is here. It's not over the Fontana Lewis Library. And Kimberly Fletcher is equally engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring and criminal facilitation of that, relevant to what is ongoing in the workplace. All right. Capturing what is malice and impunity. She is going to federal prison. I just want to document this, and I took a picture of what is her phone call. Her phone call is, again, pursuant to the demonic behavioral pattern, occurring with simultaneity to what I am writing about, which they are particularly interested in, the fact that it is going to be incorporated into what's occurring in the workplace, because it is. Every day that I captured Impossible Light, you're going to be prosecuted for a sex offense. You're touching my breast, you're touching my stomach, you're touching my buttocks, you're touching my thighs, you're touching my body, which I would not allow you to do physically. Nor will you be able to get away with it. You will pay civilly and you will pay also criminally, while I documented that direct evidence. And it's terrorism because it's not even happening naturally. It's occurring while they are employing demonic efforts to keep me under surveillance. And this is a pattern of conduct. Remember when I'm working in property management in Harupa Valley, where the entity was keeping the light source over that office in Harupa Valley, off of the 60 freeway in Riverside, California, where the Riverside Police Department was group stalking in a helicopter. Don't forget about that evidence. They remain surrounded by a body of evidence, and that is speaking to what is beyond a coincidence as well, while you're remembering the Upland Police Department under the light source at the same time that it's here over my head, while LAPD is flying in circles, providing evidence against the people of the state. All right, while the entity is group stalking at the Fontana Lewis Library, and I'm reminding you about the placement of that light source there. There's a whole big picture, okay? So I want you to listen to the following, because this is going toward the enhancement of time in federal prison for Kum Lee, Carla Lopez, Tiffany Sherez, and Kimberly Fletcher. P.O.C. It is currently 10:05. And this is the entity that is to its own demise, engaging in that, okay? To its own demise. That's called amplification. While they're listening to me prosecute them in documentation. Listening to it. That's the light source. They're all going to federal prison. That's 1804, number 4. He's going to federal prison. He's already documented. That's impunity. That is a third-party group stalker affiliated with what is 18. And that, I want to be clear, that's demonic pacing. Walking in this way, walking in that way, this is demonic pacing. They're being deported anyway, 1805. And the entity is amplifying helicopter activity. And this is capturing impunity. That's a demon crossing path in the engineered light. That's Ty Lee of 1805. Monitoring with his children, who are adults, but I believe they're from another country. They're out and they're going to be deported right out of this country. And all they do is move around in the engineered light like the demons that they are, talking to each other, looking the opposite direction while the light source is over me and not over the Fontana Lewis Library. And while they're documented on multiple occasions, even living at the crime scene, speaking to how long they deserve to sit in federal prison. That's exactly what's going to be the result. And while they are doing so, while the entity takes the effort to fly directly over my office, showing how much they are bothered by the evidence against Kimberly Fletcher and Speaker Companies and Todd Speaker, while I'm speaking to the fact that she's going to federal prison for engaging in an ongoing act of harassment while she's monitoring me. All right, it is currently, by the way, 10:06 a.m. This is P.O.C. while the entity is keeping the light source at the exact same time. I'll remind you about the video that I have. I believe it's at 10:04 a.m. And I'm in Fontana, California, where the entity is maintaining that light source. All right, I'm standing at the entrance of the Fontana Lewis Library at this time, where you're seeing Ty Lee. You're seeing 1800 number 4. You're seeing them act with impunity, pacing around. They're not going to get anything. They're walking away from the car and then walking back to the car, opening, closing the doors. Those are demons that are creating activity, then using the vehicle lights as a method of activity. Demons are pacing up and down on Alvarado Street, and the demons in the sky, space, and plane and helicopter, including LAPD, which you heard on video, and this is occurring at the same time that I'm at the Fontana Lewis Library, and you see the light source directly over my head. They're going to federal prison. 7RNH 179. Remember, engineered light is all over the place. This is how they monitor. and they are very satisfied with going to federal prison because that's a very real result. And the federal courts, the federal law, the federal government, the Federal Bureau of Investigations is understanding the ways in which it is absolutely necessary. Kimberly Fletcher is going to federal prison, and she's going for a long time. Not only because of the impunity, but the level of malice when you are the malicious guise under which the entity is monitoring you in the workplace. Okay, understand that level of stress while you are depending on your employment to survive. And this is what the entity is doing to the targeted individual. And I'm advocating on behalf of that. And while the audacity, the foolishness, okay, for the entity to engage in communicating even more of a threat, which I'm going to play this tape in federal court when Kimberly Fletcher's case comes before the federal judge. And that's what they do, because she's a group stalker and she's monitoring in the name of speaker companies. And it's occurring in the workplace. And the people of the state at Alvarado Gardens are monitoring under the light source, which is nowhere near Fontana Lewis Library, as I'm standing at the entrance at the same time. This is P.O.C. All of the aforementioned are going to federal prison. And this is documenting what is the enhancement. That's an enhancement to federal prison while you hear the entity engage in the ongoing pattern of conduct of engaging in more of a threat that is stalking. And that's the corrupt law enforcement agencies who are incapable of protecting. You can't protect any third-party group stalker. You are engaging in what is enhancing how long they will sit in federal prison. That is capturing impunity. Impunity is to be directly addressed by the federal government. Okay, it is, by the way, 10:09 a.m. This is P.O.C. Kimberly Fletcher is going to federal prison. Carla Lopez, affiliated with speaker companies, is going to federal prison. Tiffany Cherez, federal prison. The third-party group stalker with the blue SUV, affiliated with apartment 1808, number 5, he's going to federal prison with license 8RUL397. He's on video, pacing back and forth. He crosses path in order to get into his vehicle, which is used as a means of light activity. He drives by, and impossible light activity moves across the apartment building. That demon is monitoring all the way up until, okay, and so that's a picture of impunity, okay? The entity is monitoring through that demon. This is Kum Lee, who's crossing path in her Prius, and Tiffany Cherez, who again lives at the crime scene with children, demonstrating ongoing impunity. Impunity is a term which is going to be relevant with regard to the government that's monitoring and the government that's engaging in that which is in no way impervious to being prosecuted. You're getting to the government's delusion that you are in any way protected, that you are in any way engaging in anything that you have any legal argument for. You don't. You're talking about that delusion. You're going to break right through that, not only by mental examinations in federal prison, but enhanced time in federal prison. All right. It is currently, again, 10:10 a.m. Reference the documentation, because while you're looking at what the Fontana Police Department and the people of the state are doing in Fontana, it's going toward the prosecution of the Upland Police Department, the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, who are group stalking at the Upland Public Library, where the sun is not over the Upland Public Library, nor over Alvarado Gardens. That's the light source over me, while the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct. This is how a body of evidence is used to prosecute the whole entity. This is P.O.C.